Speaking of Brock and the Dougie, that was interesting. How much pressure is he under the rest of the season? It seemed like he was letting some emotion go there. I mean, a lot of pressure on him. He's not supposed to be as mobile anymore because of this toe injury. He runs for 2-yard touchdown and he's dancing. And he beats the Browns and he's on a 3-game winning streak. That's phenomenal. But he's still the scrutiny is different this year because of the contract that he signed, and the season isn't over. And the conversation the rest of the offseason will be largely shaped by how his season ends. So how would you quantify the level of pressure he's under for the next month or two?
I think there's a level of pressure that he's going to have to play through. I think this sounds weird, but I think he did the Dougie because, look, that's something Mac Jones would have done.
True.
Like he wanted to be
trying to show
more,
some personality, some looseness.
Exactly, and I think that's why he did it, and I'm sure he was feeling good about it too. And look, you saw the reaction from the team; they all loved it, and so I think that's something that he has to do a little bit more of. Be a little more down to earth. Lost his mind, but at the same time, the Niners are playing with house money. The Niners are a team that could easily be 4-9 right now, being the fact that they lost their starting quarterback, they lost Nick Bosa, they lost Fred Warner. A lot of people have written them off. It's like, oh, they're not going to be in the playoffs, or if they are, they'll get knocked out in the first round. So really, like, any success is a huge success for San Francisco. Because of that, it's taking pressure off of Brock because he doesn't have to, be the best quarterback in the league. He just needs to make sure that they win these games. So I think the schedule and the circumstances of our season is actually favoring Brock because now he doesn't have to play out of his mind. And I think he realized that after the Panthers game, like, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to be Superman. I don't have to be, Josh Allen. I need to go out there and just execute the game plan and just find a way to win. And I think that's hopefully what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah. I think he's under pressure because his contract is so large, and the Yorks gave it to him expecting that he would sort of bounce back from 2024 and be the 2022, 2023 Brock again and put up those kind of numbers with Christian back on the fold. And he hasn't done it yet. And while everyone loves Brock and he's a hard worker and he's a pro, that only goes so far. I mean, I'm going to invoke Brandon Ayuk for a second. And you say, like, well, they have nothing in common. Brandon Ayuk wasn't any of those things. But the thing that ultimately did Brandon Ayuk in with the Niners is the fact that he was just overpaid. I mean, they thought he'd be worth it. Then he came back, didn't live up to couldn't produce, got hurt, and it was clear that you're underwater with that contract.
Yeah.
And so they could say that it was about professionalism or communication, but to me, they didn't want to pay him anymore. And they found a way to stop, essentially. They did that with Jimmy too. At one point, they loved Jimmy. And then it was clear that Jimmy was overpaid. And all of a sudden, it was like, well, Jimmy doesn't communicate. It's like when you find reasons to stop loving your wife or whatever, they don't communicate. Yeah, whatever, man. You just don't want to pay Jimmy what you're paying Jimmy. So they found a way to make Jimmy cheaper. And they brought him Trey, and they restructured his contract. They have shown that they won't overpay grossly for players, and they will find a way to stop. So, Brock, you got to really justify the contract because they can get out of it after 2026. You got this year and you got next year. And if you don't look like a top 10 quarterback and you're not performing like a top 10 quarterback, then guess what? Ask Jimmy what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So maybe not a ton of pressure, but it's mounting.
Oh, and they've shown it with Jimmy Garoppolo. They've shown it with Brandon Ayuk. It doesn't matter how the fans feel about the player or how the team feels about the player. If the player is not meeting their expectations, especially on a financial level, then they're going to make those moves to make sure that they are not underwater on these contracts. And look, what they did to Brandon Ayuk, the team is like, oh, I didn't know. That's just I feel like a lot of players knew what was happening to Brandon Ayuk. They just knew they couldn't talk about it because that's not their business. Who wants to be that guy who was like, hey, did you guys hear about Brandon Ayuk's guaranteed money? And it's like, wait, what? So the team knows what the organization is capable of and what means that they're willing to go to make sure they get their money back. So, yeah, I would agree that there is pressure on Brock because, I mean, he has to perform the rest of the season and into the playoffs. If we get to the playoffs and he lays an egg in round one, kind of like what Jared Goff did last year or Sam Darnold did last year, then
Justin Herbert.
But it's going to be a huge conversation of, okay, is this really the guy? I don't know. And it's going to put even more pressure on next season for him to succeed.
And the thing that makes Brock different than all the other quarterbacks who are making a ton of money is that Mac Jones is in the picture. If Mac Jones were on, you know, the Bengals and had gone 5-3 when Joe Burrow was out and put up numbers that were similar to Joe Burrow, it'd be a discussion because teams don't want to spend all this money on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And with Brock, Mac Jones exists. So if he goes out and lays an egg, the question, I mean, I think what's so interesting about the Mac Jones situation is the Niners didn't sign him for 1 year. He's not going away necessarily. And if Brock messes up, like you said, and loses in the first round and throws 3 picks, then guess who's not going anywhere? Mac. And when the Niners can get out of Brock's contract at the end of 2026, that's when Mac's contract is up. So it seems like at the end of next season, the Niners are going to have big decisions to make on all kind of people in the organization. John's contract will be up, John Lynch's. So this is all culminating to a big crescendo next season. So far, so good for Brock. They're not going to get rid of him now, but Mac Jones isn't going anywhere. And this quarterback controversy isn't going anywhere, especially if he falters down the stretch. There's a lot of pressure on him this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they invested a ton of money into his contract, and with the expectation that he could be that guy. Now, he's shown flashes of that this season. He showed it obviously in 2023, and even in 2022, he showed that this guy was better than most people thought. But so far this season, we've only seen flashes of it. We need to see it more on a consistent basis, especially in the playoffs, is when he really has to show that he's worth the contract they gave him.
And it was so interesting about football and his situation is, let's say he kind of stinks the rest of the regular season and he's dinking and dunking and just trying to survive, not pushing the ball down the field. But he gets to the playoffs, gets hot, goes to the Super Bowl and wins. Guess who doesn't give a shit about the regular? No one cares about the regular season and what he did. It just culminated in the 6th Lombardi. But if he goes to the playoffs and loses in the first round, then you look back at this whole season, you look back at his last 2 seasons, and you're like, damn, man, is this who he is now? I mean, I feel like that whole range of outcomes and conversations is on the table for him. Like, you could flush the last 2 seasons with a good playoff run, or you could define him by the last 2 seasons if he falters.
Yeah, and you really could. I mean, there is the out that people will give him of, well, he didn't have Fred Warner. Well, he didn't have Nick Bosa. Well, he didn't have Michael Williams. So the defense was, kind of patchwork, even though they've been playing really good, but they're doing it against the Cardinals, the Panthers, and the Browns. And the Browns offense, as good as Shador was last week, when we played them, they looked awful.
So that's no excuse for him to throw for 200 yards and a touchdown and a pick. Like, yeah, if he loses and he throws for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns and a pick and runs for a touchdown, then people will praise him the way they're praising Shador Sanders in this loss against the Titans. That's the kind of situation he's in. It's not enough, even if he wins. Remember when Jimmy Garoppolo won the NFC Championship game, throwing 8 passes? People didn't give him any credit for that. Like,
none.
What you do and how you produce and what your numbers are matter now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And so far the last few weeks, it's been pretty meager.
I mean, if they run the table and somehow they win the Super Bowl, then I would say he has full immunity next season. Absolutely. For the most part.
Life. Well, maybe not for life.
Not for life, but I would say for
Hurts
most
is getting
of
run
next
out of
season.
Philly right now, and he just won last year.
Jalen Hurts, yeah, dude, they want Sirianni fired. They want Jalen Hurts out of there, and they just won the Super Bowl.
I wouldn't be surprised if Hurts is out of there in a year or two.
Dude, I just did a breakdown of the top quarterbacks in the NFC. And I put Jalen Hurts as number 4 only because of what he did last season in the Super Bowl. We've seen him at a very high level play extremely good. I'm like, so he's
But if you were dropped on Earth 3 months ago and all you could see is this season, what would you think of him?
Oh, I think he's awful.
Right? He's playing awful right now. Lamar's playing awful right now. Mahomes is playing awful right now. It's hard to explain. It's just that it's one of the cool things about the NFL. It changes rapidly.
It does. Rapidly.
Yeah.
I mean,
like Brock isn't playing well right now. I mean, Brock's TD to INT ratio is awful, terrible. So he's got a good win-loss record. Sweet, man. Jimmy had that on the Niners too. Like, he's got to step it up.
He does, dude. And but I don't know if this is the guy that's going to say, okay, so against the Titans, this guy's going to throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't know if Brock's that guy. I think Brock might throw for 250 and have 2 touchdowns. and then McCaffrey will have a touchdown, and somebody else have a touchdown, and that's just what he does. He just keeps the chains moving and finds a way to keep them winning. I mean, how many games in 2023 did we see where we were like, dude, Brock is just lighting it up right now? That's not really his game.
You know who would throw for 364 against the Titans this week? Mac Jones.